Hare Krishna. Please give me a minute. Let me open up Bhakti Aloka. Last chapter now. Where did I leave? There are questions also. I should answer. Okay. Chapter 12, one should not remain in a place. Okay, let's resume. One should not remain in a place where incompatible mixtures of mellows or contradictions in the conclusions of devotion service are presented. The Chaitanya Charitamrita has the following statement: Bhakti Siddhanta Vriddha ar Rakhabhas Shunite na hoy Prabhu Chitter Ulas. The Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was never pleased to hear books or verses opposed to the conclusive statements of devotion service. The Lord did not like hearing rasabhas, the overlapping of transcendental mellows. This is referred to as philosophical misconception. When there are persons who have, including devotees, who have philosophical misconceptions and they refuse to be corrected according to standard sources of valid knowledge, according to standard pramanas, then we are wasting our time and one should not remain in that place. In fact, out of the different types of people who who enter into the Krishna consciousness movement, Artho Jigyasura Arthati Jnani, we find some people come to Krishna consciousness simply out of distress, and others come for some financial improvement. Then there are those who come because they are curious. And then we have the Jnani type, the one who has attained Sambandha Jnana, Krishna Sambandha Vijnana, and he has taken to Krishna consciousness. So, someone has read Prabhupada's books, and it is on this basis alone that he or she has taken to Krishna consciousness. So specifically those whose Krishna consciousness and whose continuance of their practice of Krishna consciousness, both in terms of their acceptance of the prescriptions as well as prohibitions, when their acceptance of Krishna consciousness is solely in terms of scriptural knowledge, understanding, and faith in the scriptures, unbroken faith in the scriptures and the parampara, Prabhupada, and so on, they will certainly be unable to tolerate this. They will be unable to tolerate Bhakti Siddhanta and Rasabhas. They will not be able to handle this at all. There are a number of devotees in today's ISKCON who are very puzzled how you can stop talking to someone just because he said something which to you sounds apasiddhanta. And they're told, come on, that's just philosophy. But we are friends. But there's no meaning to friendship without, if it is not on the basis of knowledge, if it is not on the basis of understanding, if it is not on the basis of acceptance of the standard authorities of Prabhupada, his liberated predecessor Acharyas and Shastra. Overall, I would say, if at all there are any castes inside ISKCON, these are the 4 castes. And those who belong to the Jnani caste should not even be expected to thickly intermingle with the people of the other castes, if you want to think like that. Those who came because simply out of, there are some people who came to Krishna consciousness not even on their own. just because some family member took to Krishna consciousness. So these people, but in generally, I don't even take them seriously. If the son of a Brahmana is not a Brahmana, the son of a Vaishnava is certainly not a Vaishnava. Just as you have Brahma Bandhus, you have Vaishnava Bandhus, Vaishnavi Bandhus. So it's not. You need to Ado Shraddha, unbroken, unbreakable faith in Shastra, Parampara, and Prabhupada. If these things are not there, then you're not even endeavoring for pure sadhana bhakti leading to pure, to exclusive pure sadhana bhakti leading to bhava bhakti, prema bhakti, and so on. Then when I'm personally stuck in this kind of situation, I just don't know what to do. I just don't know. I get completely suffocated and take out my bead bag with the hope that Krishna will do something and rescue me. One should carefully gather the good qualities needed for devotional service. Let me read it again. One should carefully gather the good qualities needed for devotional service. You know, there are so many qualities which Krishna spells out in Bhagavad Gita. Second chapter. You'll find qualities of a Sthita Pragya. 14th chapter, qualities of one who has transcended the three modes of material nature. 12th chapter, qualities of devotee of Krishna. So if I don't see these qualities developing within myself, that's a problem, first of all. Not that I think that, no, but somehow I'll go back to Gauranga. The meaning to going back to anywhere, actually, if we don't fit in. One needs to understand from the scriptures what is normal and what is abnormal. From the perspective of Goloka Vrindavan, exclusive prema bhakti is normal. And there are different degrees of abnormality in Satoguna, Rajaguna, Tamaguna. We are currently in an abnormal situation. So we need to examine, have I become 2% normal? Have I become 50% normal? Have I become 75% normal? And so on. Are we moving closer to normalcy, or are we going further away from normalcy? It is very important. Normal doesn't mean what is common. Normal is in fact most uncommon. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaya. Amongst thousands of people, one will endeavor for perfection in spiritual realization. Yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tattvataha. And amongst thousands who endeavor, one may attain perfection, spiritual perfection in spiritual realization. Amongst those who have attained perfection, amongst thousands of people who have attained spiritual perfection in realization, hardly one knows Krishna in truth. One knows Krishna in truth, tattvataha. Brahmabhuta prasannatmana shochiti nakanshati samassarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labate param bhaktiyamam abhijanati yavanyaschasmi tattvataha. So knowing Krishna in truth is something that happens after you come to the platform of Brahmabhuta prasannatma stage. It's rare. It's rare. We have turned away from Krishna. This is Krishna, the Bahirmukha Jagat. It's not the Antarmukha Jagat. This, the world where everyone is turning towards Krishna. That is the spiritual world. So we are in some remote corner of existence. So it is important that we understand what is normal, what is abnormal, and keep a check on whether we are progressing or regressing in Krishna consciousness. The nature of a devotee is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita as follows. Mahanubhavet chitta swabhav eha pushpasam komal kothin vajramoy This is the nature of the mind of an uncommon personality. Sometimes it is soft like a flower, but sometimes it is as hard as a thunderbolt. The welfare activities of a devotee are described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita as follows. Mahanta swabhave tarite amar nijakarjo nahi tobu jan tar ghar. It is a general practice of all saintly persons, the saintly people, to deliver the fallen. Therefore, they go to people's houses, although they have no personal business there. Or sometimes somebody comes and tells, oh, my dear saintly, and having these difficulties, can you please advise me, guide me? And we also know that when you say something which is unpalatable, or if you simply say that, look, but you're an idiot, then they get extremely offended, even though you explain that why that particular attitude or activity can only be described as that of an idiot. And you point out that, look, you shouldn't give up this. You should become intelligent. And then people don't accept. People don't accept. There are those who don't want to hear the truth. There are those who don't want to understand reality. Generally, it is my own observation that those who belong to these other castes, they're unable to handle reality. They have no interest in reality in the first place. Prabhupada himself says that when you come to Krishna out of distress, after you attain whatever you did not attain, or if that cause of distress has somehow disappeared in your life, then very easily you can also give up Krishna consciousness and go. Of course, if you have unknowingly engaged in some item of pure devotional service, then in your next life it will benefit you. There's no doubt about it. It is all beneficial. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement is all beneficial, but they will not understand it. They are slow. Baladev Vidyabhushan himself has noted those who belong to the first three categories, Artho, Jigyasura, Arthati. When do they come to the when do they become Gyanis? Bahunam Janmanam Ante Gyanavan Mam Prapadyate. It takes several lifetimes, because Krishna, first of all, fulfills all their propensities, desires, and all that takes several lifetimes. And they get bored, and then they accept, yes, my dear Lord, Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. You are everything for me. Prabhupada, in one place, he says, when you intensely love somebody, you consider that person to be everything for you. So when you intensely love Krishna, you say, Vasudeva Sarva. Krishna is everything for me. Initially, we accept Krishna as part of our life. Swanishtas are actually like this. They accept Krishna as part of their lives. Therefore, they lifetimes. And then when we progress in Krishna consciousness substantially, we accept Krishna as the center of our lives. They take one full lifetime. And then when you progress further in Krishna consciousness, you accept Krishna alone as your only life. You have no other life other than Krishna consciousness. You know, no sinful activities, no offensive activities, no family duty, no sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Come to that platform. You simply want to serve Krishna. Now that is no joke. We all know that. But when we are ready for it, Krishna will pull us to that point. But people in general don't want to hear good advice. So therefore, saintly people will naturally have to face a lot of gali. Now, preaching is not a very joyous and delicious activity. Preaching not just to non-devotees. You know, we have non-devotees, semi-devotees, all kinds of things are there. And in general, trying to help others in pure devotional service is quite a difficult activity. In one place, Prabhupada says, it is disgusting actually to see people continually refuse to accept Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada says that therefore preaching is a very difficult task. Some of the acharyas in our line, they have been bhajananandis for this very reason. because it is disgusting, like Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, like Jagannath Das Babaji. You know, duplicitous. Even if they accept Krishna consciousness, they accept it duplicitously. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji used to say, once there was some Rath Yatra or something going on. This is in Navadip town. And those who would come to see him, they left. And then Gaur Kishore Das Babaji is reported to have said, oh, now I feel some relief because these people came just to watch the woman coming here. And finally they're gone away and feel some relief. So, you know, that is how these liberated acharyas think. That if at all you want to distribute the pure version of Krishna consciousness. So preaching requires a lot of tolerance. You'll get plenty of backstabs, front stabs, side stabs, part of preaching life, occupational hazards. There, but that is the risk that is taken. That is why Prabhupada says Krishna recognizes the risk that preachers of Krishna consciousness take, and therefore they are dear to Krishna. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Lord gives an example of how a devotee should pledge. Prabhu ko he kahatumi nahi kichu hoy, jogya hoile koribo, ajogya hoile noy. The Lord gave the Bhattacharya assurance that he could speak without fear, but added that if his statement was suitable, he would accept it, and if it were not, he would reject it. No need to make false promises. Just state it out. There are sweet ways to say it also. No need to say, oh, whatever you say, I accept it. No, there are, it's not false. It's completely false from whatever you say. How are you? By your mercy, I'm so happy. What is by your mercy? It may not be your mercy at all in reality. It is just some fake. There's no need for something false. Krishna consciousness is based on reality. It's not based on some false. It's not based on something false. Similarly, those who secretly engage in sinful activities while posing themselves as being devotees in good standing. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, these are like persons who have worms in the intestine. And even though you go on eating food, you don't develop any strength because that food is actually eaten by the intestine. So engagement in secret sinful activities, forbidden activities, or harboring sinful desires secretively, all of these, they only lead to degradation. They don't actually help us. And that is another way of trying to avoid reality, and that is not required. And that will not help us. It will not help us become free from the anarthas, kama, krodha, moha, lobha, mada, matsarya. The benefits of dealing affectionately with the devotee are described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita as follows. Prabhu ko he tumi Krishna bhakata pradhan tomake je priti kare sei bhagyavan. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then said, my dear Ramanandara, you are the foremost of all the devotees of Krishna. Therefore, whoever loves you is certainly a very fortunate person. So, if we affectionately deal with the devotees, then we attain spiritual fortune. We become very fortunate persons, which means we get opportunities to understand what is progress in pure devotional service. Otherwise, we can simply go on year after year after year with no clarity on whether we are progressing or regressing, with no clarity on what is the distinction between pure bhakti and impure bhakti even. And certainly with no understanding of whether we are whether our anarthas are sufficiently cleansed, are sufficiently removed or not. Firm determination for one's attachment is described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita as follows. Kintu anuragi loker swabhav ek hoy, ishto na paile nijo pran se chhadai. Still, isn't it the nature of an attached man to give up his life if he does not attain his desired object? So this is called firm determination. That I can even give up my life to progress in Krishna consciousness. I can even give up my life to Do that which is pleasing to Krishna and avoid that which is displeasing, all of which are very carefully defined, well defined. Teaching others by one's good example is described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita as follows. Tumi bhalo koriyacho shikaho annere ei moto bhalo karma sekho jeno kore. The Lord would say, you have done well. Please teach this to others so that they may act in the same way. So, first step is you have done well. Second step is please teach this to others. Now, therefore, I say that preaching Krishna consciousness is nothing but sharing Krishna consciousness. If I have not progressed, then I cannot bring people to my status. There's no point in simply parrot-like repetition will not actually help. In fact, we know parrot-like repetition of even the pure conclusions of Krishna consciousness, if they are articulated by non-devotees, we should not hear it, because by hearing it, we will become non-devotees. Avaishnavam mukhodgyanam, bhutam harikathamratam, shravanam naiva kartavyam, sarpochishtam yathapaya. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur emphasized this point. And therefore, it is not just the unadulterated truth. Yes, the unadulterated truth is the most important, is very important. In fact, from the theoretical point of view, it is most important that you exactly repeat what Krishna has said. That is necessary, but it is not sufficient. You also need to actually progress in Krishna consciousness if you want others to take to Krishna consciousness and you want them to also progress in Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, it will not work, because when I communicate to someone, my consciousness is also communicated along with that. So if I'm Krishna unconscious, then my Krishna unconsciousness is going along with that communication to whoever submissively hears it. So that person will now become Krishna unconscious, and his Krishna consciousness may actually reduce. Therefore, Prabhupada was very, very careful in which book we read, who wrote it, who spoke, why are you hearing, and so on. These are very important principles. The need for care and eagerness in the execution of devotion service is described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita as follows. Jatnagraha vina bhakti na janmai premi. Without sincere endeavor in devotion service, one cannot attain God. There has to be yatna and agraha. There has to be effort and there has to be eagerness also. One needs both. That is what is known as sincere endeavor. Yatna means effort, agraha means eagerness. You get what you pray for, what you are eager for, provided you have put in the right amount of endeavor. Then Krishna gives you that. Otherwise, Krishna will not give that. You'll go on praying life after life after life. And already we have seen decade after decade after decade has gone by, or year after year after year goes by, and we still don't make sufficient tangible progress. Our lust and greed are reduced. The 6 urges are not reduced. What to speak of becoming 0? And that is because these are all, without this it will not happen, that's all. It will simply not happen. Like here, Jatnagraha bina bhakti na janmai preme. Without sincere endeavor and devotion service, one cannot attain love of God. It simply doesn't happen. This is just straight confirmation on why it doesn't happen. Therefore, it is our duty to put in the right endeavor and be sufficiently eager. Sincere endeavor. Endeavor with eagerness. These are all covered in Upadeśāmṛta itself. The need for giving up the association of logicians is described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita as follows. Targika Shrigal Sange Bheu Bheu Vari Sei Mukhe Eve Sada Kahi Krishna Hari. In the association of the jackals known as logicians, I simply continue to bark a resounding Bheu Bheu. Now from the same mouth I am chanting the holy names Krishna and Hari. This is famously spoken by Vasudev Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He's referring to Tarkika Shrigal, the jackals known as logicians. This is a reference to something from the Mahabharata. When a jackal came, if I remember correctly, in Yudhishthir Maharaj's Ashwamedha Yajna, and he was speaking, and he explained that in his past life he was a logician. It's not that logic is not wrong, but a logician is one who considers that logical inference is sufficient to understand what is reality and what is not reality. One does not need to accept Vedic authority. That's called the that's the one referred to here as a logician. So the person may speak in a very reasonable manner, but if it is not based on Vedic authority, then that person is referred to as a Tarki. That is also the other extreme, to look at the teachings of the Vedic scriptures without following the parampara system. There's a method for it. You need to consider Shastra. You need to also consider how the liberated parampara acharyas have understood that scriptural knowledge. And you need to see how that has produced effect in the implementation of the bona fide spiritual master who is following that parampara and that Shastra. So that's a method of how you accept Vedic authority. So Sarvabhaumacharya, he says that he was previously one such logician. But now in Lord Chaitanya's movement, he has begun to chant Hare Krishna. An example of unhappiness by seeing the distress of others is given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita as follows. Jiver dukha dekhi mor hriday bidare. Sarva jiver paap prabhu dekho mor shire. Jiver paap loya mui koron narako bhog. Sakal jiver prabhu guchaho bhavarog. So these are spoken by Shri Vasudev Datta. My Lord, my heart breaks to see the sufferings of all the conditioned souls. Therefore, I request you to transfer the karma of their sinful lives upon my head. My dear Lord, let me suffer perpetually in a hellish condition, accepting all the sinful reactions of all living entities. Please finish their diseased material life. Actually, in Vedic civilization, it is ordinary common sense that life as it is experienced in material existence is simply miserable. It is not like, we hear in several false, non-devotional, pseudo-motivational talks. Life is full of opportunity. You just need to find the right hat. Then you can pick up the dollars. No such crap like that. It is miserable. Like Lord Buddha, he said, Dukkham Jagat. This world is nothing but misery. This is the starting point. In Chatvari Arya Satyani, the Four Noble Truths, starts with the first truth, which is correct. We accept this. That this world is goddamn miserable. It is miserable. It is designed to be miserable. One of my seniors used to say that sometimes there are some shops we would notice in Calcutta which would say House of Sweets, which means it's a sweet shop. Some places you'll find a shop, a house of cloth, which means it's a cloth shop. So one day he was saying that similarly, this world is also a house. So what is this house? It is Dukkhalayam. It is a house of misery. And just like you cannot go inside a cloth shop and expect to buy firecrackers, you cannot expect to go inside the house of misery and expect a Vaikuntha atmosphere, or even a small Vaikuntha atmosphere. Just like in a cloth shop, there is no special counter where they sell firecrackers or sweets. The cloth shop is fully cloth only. So like that is a house of misery, means a house of misery only. So it was ordinary common sense. In the 11th canto, Lord Krishna tells Uddhava this. It's a matter of simple observation. When you simply observe over a period of time, and it is implied that you are not swayed by unnecessary propaganda, then you easily understand that life and material existence is simply miserable. In today's world, people do so many things to forget reality, this simple reality. The culture of movies, TV serials, novels, in so many ways, people want to forget reality. But that does not solve any problem. Prabhupada said that sometimes the ostrich, it is looking towards the ground and it is pecking, it is doing something. But sometimes when it turns aside and sees a tiger, then it thinks that if I don't look at the tiger, there's no danger. So it continues to look down. So by continuing to look down, it's not that the tiger will run away. The tiger has found its Sunday feast. So naturally it's going to enjoy. So similarly, it's not that simply by running away from reality, the reality of the miseries of material existence will not go away. And to add salt to the injury, it is not just that this life is miserable and after I die, everything will become peaceful and wonderful. That is another delusion. After you die, again you're coming back, you're going nowhere. So again you're coming back to experience the next session of the same misery. According to the punya and papa that I am composing in this life, I will experience in my next life. Now, two different misery. Why is it said it's all misery? Don't we experience happiness? Now, happiness is something which is called ishta, desirable. Unhappiness is anishta, undesirable. The absence of happiness is also undesirable. And the presence of unhappiness, that is also undesirable. Therefore, overall, you've given me some happiness and then you've taken it away from me. So that ultimately comes down to unhappiness. So therefore, one Vaishnava has written that why should we be detached regarding this material world? Because either all experiences are immediately miserable, fully miserable, or immediately is filled with experiences which are immediately partially happy, partially miserable, or they're filled with experiences which are fully pleasurable, but invariably followed by the other two, one of the other two. So therefore, it is overall, you just cannot escape this. By common sense, it was understood that the conditioned souls are all simply suffering, 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 suffering. And here Śrī Vasudeva Datta, he points out that he is unhappy to see others unhappy. This is a pure Vaishnava, a worshipable Vaishnava. It is our duty to serve such exalted devotees so that we can also progress in Hari Bhakti and come to the point where we also feel that it is not that we don't feel sympathy at all, but as we become more and more spiritually enlightened, the more and more we understand the importance of having Krishna consciousness spread. Spreading Krishna consciousness, we can do it either in front line or in the back line, which is, both are okay, but it is our duty. The need for a pure heart is described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita as follows. Sahaje nirmal e brahman hriday, Krishner bosite jogya sthan hoy. The heart of a Brahman is by nature very clean. Therefore, it is a proper place for Krishna to sit. In other words, we need to have our heart very clean so that Lord Krishna can reside in our heart. So this is very important, that what is the state of our consciousness? Are we still filled with various material inclinations, motives, and so on? These things are important. It is not that, oh, I'm not doing anything wrong, I'm simply contemplating on it. So what is the problem? No, it is still a problem, because it is not yet the proper place for Krishna to sit on. One must give up envy or the distress arising from seeing another's prosperity. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, this is described as follows: Matsarja Chandal Kene Iham Bosaile Param Pavitra Sthan Apavitra Kaile. Why have you allowed that Chandala of jealousy to sit here also? In this way, you have contaminated a most purified place, your heart. This is what Chaitanya talking to. It's all talking to Sarvabhauma's son-in-law, who was very disturbed when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya offered Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu a feast, prasadam feast. One must be a staunch follower of Lord Chaitanya, as described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Prabhu lagi dharma karma chhade bhakta gahan, bhakta dharma hani prabhur na hoy sahan. All the devotees would abandon all kinds of duties for Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's sake, yet the Lord did not like the devotees giving up their promised duties. The devotees, they could, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates, they could even transgress the promises that they made, but Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not like that. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu basically did not like immoral, unethical people posing as his devotees and giving him and his teachings a bad name. The need to completely abandon faults is described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita as follows: Se kene rakhibe tomar shesh vishay bhog rog khandi swadvaidya na rakhe shesh rog. Why should Krishna allow you to maintain a last bit of material attachment? After vanquishing a disease, a good physician does not allow any of the disease to remain. So therefore, there's a need to completely abandon all kinds of defects. All kinds of defects. There are some who think that this is all unrealistic, unnecessary, perfectionistic obsession. It's simply that you have this disease thinking that I should become completely free from all unearthers. But that is what Krishna wants. Krishna is demanding. Krishna wants us to become fully pure enough to serve him. And anyway, these anarthas, these faults, they are not bad, they are not good for us anyway. They don't do good to the world either. The devotee's faith in the conclusions of devotion service is described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita as follows: Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kahe Sudritha Nishchay Krishna Bhakti Koile Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. Shraddha is confident, firm faith that by rendering transcendental loving service to Krishna, one automatically performs all subsidiary activities. Such faith is favorable to the discharge of devotional service. Nirapekshas have this faith. Those who have accepted Krishna into their lives, they have faith that at least a few hours a day I must engage in the activities of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam, either singly, one at a time, or in unison, more than one at a time. That is weak faith. That is faith. It's there. Faith in devotional service to Krishna. But they don't have so much faith that if I simply do devotional service all day, Krishna will fully take care of me, because they have not developed that degree of trust. They don't trust Krishna to that degree. Then there are those who have accepted Krishna as the center of their lives, the Parinishtitas. The Parinishtitas, they spend most of their time in the activities of Navaveda Bhakti. They have faith that Krishna will take care. But only the Nirapeksha has absolute faith that all I need to do is this. This alone is what I need to do. Practically living the life of a sannyasi. He has already given up sinful activities, offenses. He has also given up his material duties. Absolute faith. Krishna bhakti koile sarva karma krita hoy. If I simply render service to Krishna, everything else will be taken care of. So it is our duty to increase that faith step by step without decreasing it. Everybody cannot jump up to the highest platform. Prabhupada, in one place, he writes that Hanuman could jump all the way to Lanka, but the other monkeys, they need to cross a bridge. Step by step, they need to go. So there may be some exceptional devotees who can immediately jump up to that stage, which is fine. Exalted it is. But if we cannot, we should move step by step. That is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's program. Progress without regress. From Swanishtha to Parinishthita to Nirapeksha. Progress without regress. The need for total surrender is described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita as follows. Sharan loya kore Krishna atma samarpan. Krishna tare kore tat tale atma sam. When a devotee thus fully surrenders unto Krishna's lotus feet, Krishna accepts him as one of his confidential associates. So here you find the indication that we should fully surrender unto the Supreme Lord. Atma Samarpan, Atma Nivedana. You can read Sharanagati, a very important songbook given by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, where he has very carefully brought out various aspects of Shadanga Sharanagati, the 6-item Sharanagati. The Pancharatrika scriptures talk about this in great detail, and this is very important. One must give up atheistic philosophies with repentance, as described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Paramartha vichar gelo korimatro bad, kaha mukti pabo kaha Krishner prasad. The atheists headed by the Mayavadi philosophers do not care for the liberation of Krishna's mercy. They simply continue to put forward false arguments and counter theories to atheistic philosophy, not considering or engaging in spiritual matters. So the idea is we must give up all these pseudo doctrines. There are atheistic philosophies which come out simply out of speculation, but there are also atheistic philosophies that come out of wrong interpretations, misinterpretations of the Vedic scriptures. So when we give up these, we should give up these with repentance. Not that we say, well, it happened. Not like that. With repentance, we accept that, yes, I believed in such a stupid thing. I was very foolish. My Lord Krishna, please forgive me. My dear devotees of Krishna, please tolerate. Please forgive me for having subscribed to all these wrong ideologies. A devotee should always be neutral, as described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Nirapeksham nohile dharma na jai rakshane. Without being neutral, one cannot protect religious principles. We don't take sides between various factions of human beings having various opinions. If you are not, we simply follow the teachings of Shastra, the teachings of the liberated acharyas and so on. And in that way, we are neutral. We don't turn this side or that side and so on. Because otherwise you cannot faithfully follow religious principles. You'll always be swayed. And we cannot be swayed by the different sways of the material world. The devotee should be afraid of insulting other Vaishnavas. As stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Mohanter Opaman Je Desh Grami Hoy Ek Jonar Doshe Sab Desh Jadoy. Wherever an advanced devotee is insulted for one man's fault, the entire town or place is afflicted. These are serious matters. Actually, we should prevent or protest when exalted devotees are insulted. If we don't protest, then this is what happens. If you are unable to prevent it, you can leave that place. The devotees practice forgiveness and show mercy. Of course, there's another point that in general, insulting others is unnecessary. Sometimes, if one is duty bound to correct someone who has been assigned by superior Vaishnavas to be under you, it's your duty to correct that person. You may have to chastise. Sometimes, even on a personal basis. And sometimes, in the presence of others, if that subordinate has committed a blunder which has brought about shame for the entire community. So sometimes some sharp words have to be used. There's no other way. What can be done? Especially those who are duplicitous. They would require some good dose of advice. There are some who only understand in that manner. We should, of course, not be eager to be in situations where we have to do this. Prabhupada once remarked that his first year in America, he said he was very happy. And then when he was asked, why were you happy at that time? He said, because I did not have to correct anyone. I did not have to chastise anyone. He didn't have any disciple. So he said he was happy. So even though it is the duty of a bona fide spiritual master to correct his disciples, it is not a happy duty for an exalted Vaishnava, a pure Vaishnava, definitely. And we should not be happy to take up these kind of services. Once Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj told me, it is an unfortunate fact that there are some devotees who can only offer one service to the Krishna consciousness movement, to be a leader. You tell them to be a normal person and do all, lift the bucket and serve prasadam and all, they will not accept. Be a leader. They need to be high in the org chart, because I need to be recognized for what I am. I'm worth it. Come on, God has gifted me for His ISKCON. ISKCON should not be deprived. So there are, there are persons who think these kind of things. In general, insulting, criticism, and so on. These things are not very healthy for Krishna consciousness. At the very least, we should be afraid of, we should be frightened of insulting others. And in general, we have enough unearthers. Let us not increase it. Reaching is catching the fish without getting your hands wet. Reaching means sharing Krishna consciousness in such a manner that you progress in Krishna consciousness, not that in the name of helping others progress in Krishna consciousness, your Krishna consciousness goes down. It's meaningless. So all of this has to be very carefully considered. The devotee's duty is to practice forgiveness and show mercy, as stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita and the Chaitanya Bhagavata. Bhakta Swabhav Agya Dosh Kshama Kare, Dine Daya Kare, Sadhu Swabhav Hoy. Prabhu bole Vipra Sab Danta Pari Hari, Bhaja Giya Krishna Sarva Bhute Daya Kari. A characteristic of a pure devotee is that he excuses any offense by an ignorant rascal. It is a characteristic of all saintly persons to be kind toward the poor and fallen. The Lord said, O Brahmana, give up all pride and serve Krishna by showing mercy to all. The devotee's duty is to preach by setting a good example. as stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Achar prachar namer koroho dui karja. Tumi sarva guru, tumi jagater arja. You simultaneously perform both duties in relation to the holy name by your personal behavior and by your preaching. Therefore, you are the spiritual master of the entire world, or you are the most advanced devotee in the world. Elsewhere, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has pointed out that between Achar and Prachar, those who are interested only in Prachar, they are third-class devotees. Those who are only interested in Achar are second-class devotees. And those who are interested in both Achar and Prachar and who give equal importance and who are well established in both, these are first-class devotees. So second-class devotees are better than third-class devotees. And first-class devotees are better than second-class devotees. The devotee's duty is to follow Vaishnava etiquette, as stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Tothapi bhakta swabhav marjada rakhan. Marjada palan hoy sadhur bhushan. I remember correctly, it was spoken to Sanatana Goswami. It is a characteristic of a devotee to observe and protect the Vaishnava etiquette. Maintenance of the Vaishnava etiquette is the ornament of a devotee. One should consider a Vaishnava's body spiritual. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said, Prabhu kohe Vaishnava deha prakrita kobhu noy. Aprakrita deha bhaktir chidanandamoy. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, the body of a devotee is never material. It is considered to be transcendental, full of spiritual bliss. So the body of pure devotees are purely spiritual. We know this from the Upadeśāmṛta also. There is a need for worshipping Krishna in a solitary place after completing one's activities of household life and sense gratification. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is described, Ek botsar roop gosair gaude bilambo hoilo, kutumber sthiti artha vibhag kori dilo, gaude je artha chilo taha anai ila, kutumbo brahman devaloye banti dila, sob mono kotha gosai kori nirbahon, nischinta hoya shighra ayala Vrindavan. Srila Rupa Goswami was delayed in Bengal for a year because he was dividing his money among his relatives to situate them in their proper positions. He collected whatever money he had accumulated in Bengal and divided it among his relatives, the Brahmanas and the temples. Thus, after finishing all the tasks he had on his mind, he returned to Vrindavan fully satisfied. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur has noted there's a need for worshipping Krishna in a solitary place after completing one's activities of household life. There is something called completing one's activities of household life in the first place. Household life is not meant to drag us, throughout our life. Therefore, even in the Varnashrama scheme, we have the ashrama system. We are supposed to progress from Grahasthashrama to Vanaprastha to Sannyasashrama. Not necessarily official sannyas, but accepting all the prescriptions and prohibitions of sannyas life, that is sufficient. All of us have to come to this point because ultimately Prabhupada has said we have to give up eating, sleeping, mating, defending, which is the foundation for all materialistic activities. So we need to think in terms of this. Nivritti marga. We want to, first of all, get rid of unauthorized sense enjoyment, and then get rid of authorized sense enjoyment, and then get rid of facilities for authorized sense enjoyment. Let me go further. It's our duty to move in that direction. The life of Raghunath Das Goswami is considered the standard. The devotee must give up the desire for fame, as stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Mahanubhaver ei sahaja swabhav hai, apnar gun nahi apane kahoy. This is a natural characteristic of those advanced in devotion service. They do not personally speak of their own good qualities. A devotee should have no faith in worldly poetry. Poetry includes all other forms of worldly entertainment. as described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Gramya Kavir Kavitto Shunite Hoy Dukkha, Vidangza Atmiya Vakya Shunite Hoy Sukha. Hearing the poetry of a person who has no transcendental knowledge and who writes about the relationships between man and woman simply causes unhappiness. Whereas hearing the words of a devotee fully absorbed in ecstatic love for Krishna, obviously, causes great happiness. Gramya. Gramya has a sense of vulgar. From the perspective of sannyas, from the perspective of even Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga, these are all Gramya. Finding out who got married to whom, and who divorced whom, and who wants to marry whom. Simply Gramya Katha. What this has to do with our spiritual, we certainly didn't come to Krishna consciousness for this. It would be far better to discuss how Krishna married Rukmini and read that from Krishna book. That would probably be much better. We will all make spiritual progress by reading these kind of. In fact, there are nice, even in amongst materialistic people. There was one Magha. He wrote only one book of poetry. He's a materialist. He's not even a devotee. But he wrote on how Krishna killed Shishupala. Shishupala Vadha. Many devotees have written on Krishna's various pastimes, including there is from various lines, how the Lord marries. That is very, very nice. Even in Chaitanya Bhagavat, we find nice description of the Supreme Lord's marriage to Lakshmi Priya and then Vishnu Priya.
Previously, the materialist poets they are writing about Lord.
Previously, the materialistic poets in Vedic culture, they would write about the Supreme Lord. In Valmiki Ramayana, there's a statement by Lord Brahma. I think it comes in Canto 6 or Canto 7. Yuddhakanda or Uttarakanda, one of the two. Must be Uttarakanda, 7th Canto, last Canto. Where Lord Brahma tells Lord Ram, basically he says, you're the default hero for all poetic compositions.
In the 1930s, I've seen in Hindi, all only Lord Ram, Lord Krishna.
Yeah. Prabhupada writes in one place that previously, even in the villages, they would have different yatras, some kind of dance and all that, always centered on the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of God. And now it has become a fashion to talk about reality. Reality is what? How miserable people are, or some fantasy. It is an offense to disobey the order of the spiritual master. The result is described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Guru Upeksha Koile, Guru Upeksha Koile, Oiche Fall Hoy, Rome Ishwar Parjanta Parade Thekhoy. If one spiritual master rejects him, one becomes so fallen that he, like Ramachandra, commits offense even to the Supreme Personality of God. We have to be very careful about all this. A devotee should give up the desire for liberation and pride of learning, as described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Ramdas Jodi Pratham Prabhure Milila, Mahaprabhu Adhik Tare Kripa Na Kurila, Antare Mumukshute Vidya Gauranga. When Ramdas Vishwas met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord did not show him any special mercy, although this was their first meeting. Within his heart, Ramdas Vishwas was an impersonalist who desired to merge into the existence of the Lord. And he was very proud of his learning. This Ramdas, he chanted the holy names 24 hours a day. And he was serving Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. So he did Vaishnava Seva. And he chanted the holy name 24 hours a day continuously. So wasn't he an exalted devotee? Lord Chaitanya, he detected, no, not enough. That you externally are doing all this. You may serve Guru, you may serve Vaishnava, you may serve anyone. Chant Krishna's holy name, you may do whatever. But internally, what do you want? That Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, why are you doing this? What do you want? What did he want? He wanted Ishwar Sayujya. Ramanandi wants to merge into the Lord's body. He was also proud of his learning. That's another thing. Vidyagarbhavan, very proud of his learning. So these are things which we should give up. The desire for liberation, especially of the merging type, and the desire for, and even the desire for learning itself is a problem. And pride of learning, that is a big problem. It's a big problem. If by studying so much, you become so proud that you're unable to imagine honestly following Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Saishna, you stop that your study program. There's no need for that. We have enough troubles. We don't need to increase our troubles. Actually, in the Vedic system, the Brahmanas who were trained in Sanskrit and scriptural learning, they were also trained to be humble by their teachers. They were trained. In fact, that's one of the things that the teacher has to watch out for. If the student exhibits some pride, immediately he smashes him. And generally, he smashes him in front of everyone. He insults him. These are all. That's how you tone down and basically make him understand that, look, just because you know some language and you know something from the books, that doesn't make you any greater than so many others. And they're trained to engage in various menial services and so on. This requires training. All of that requires training. Not that, like once Gopi Brahman Prabhu said, I don't like devotees of Sanskrit and I don't like neophyte scholars. Neophyte scholar means you have learned so much and then you think that you are God's gift to this planet. And when you walk around, you expect everyone should call you to give classes and you expect everyone to join their palms in Anjali. And what is it? Why can't they just deal with you like normal? In the real world, both amongst devotees and amongst non-devotees. Let us say you're a family, let's say you're part of a family. And, you somehow, in some area of education, you've excelled so much. You cannot really expect your wife to start worshipping you. Your brother will come and massage your feet. Your father will become very submissive servant of you. This is all fantasy. It never happens. You simply say, yeah, okay, good. That's all. You're just expected to be a normal family person. That's all. Okay, you have brought glory to, in fact, it is interpreted the other way. You have given us glory. Thank you. That's what they say. So that is what is expected. In the Krishna consciousness movement, we are also a large family. So within ourselves, if we start thinking all this, it's absolute foolishness. Absolute foolishness to think that the devotees who brought you to Krishna consciousness should respect you because you have learned something. It's absolute foolishness. Nothing it is. Humility is essential for a devotee. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is described. Premer Swabhav Jahan Premer Sambandha Shai Mane Krishna More Nahi Prema Gandha. Wherever there is a relationship of love of God, the natural symptoms are that the devotee does not think himself a devotee, but always thinks that he has not even a drop of love for Krishna. This is due to a feature of Krishna Prema called greed. When you are greedy, you are ever dissatisfied. Just as there are greedy people, there are people greedy for money. No matter how much money they earn, they still they keep all the time they grumble. I know one lady who was a millionaire, and she said, Vidvan, I'm just somehow just passing hand to mouth. Somehow we're just surviving. Just got a few houses, a few factories, and just somehow, but we can't, nothing really to show off. That's how they think. No matter how much money you earn, it is never enough if you're greedy. The same way, even if we do develop some good qualities by the mercy of Hari Guru Vaishnavas, the one who actually wants to progress towards Krishna Prema will always consider, no, I have not come up to the standard. In other words, he will not compare himself against those who are below him. Right? Up to find out how many persons are there who are far superior to me on the pathway of sadhana. Because he is looking forward, he's not looking backward. If you look backward, you'll go back. You look forward, you go forward. Okay, I'll stop at this. But I should note down where I stopped. Right, let me note down where I stopped. This is a devotee should give up the desire for conquest. Let me note that down. There is a chat. Okay, any questions? Others? Leela Madhur. Wait 1 minute. Wait. I need to do something first. Leela Madhuri Lalita Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam. Prabhu, my question is, Ramdas Vishwas, though he was chanting 24 hours and he was serving one among the Goswami, 6 Goswamis. So still, how is it possible that one person can have that kind of interest in merging with the Lord?
I think in general, we have some misconception that devotional service is like some kind of a magic. We do some activity and automatically we will all progress. You progress when you want to progress. We have to do all these activities with that desire to progress. Otherwise, you don't progress. What is this? It's not that just by serving Vaishnavas, you become not like that. By that, you may develop some bhakti sukriti, but you have to want it. Kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya bhava sadhana vida. Nitya siddhasya kavasya prakatyam hridi sadhyata. Śrī Upadeśāmṛta's own definition of sadhana bhakti in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Sadhana bhakti is bhakti that is rendered. I'm going to mute. I think that sadhana bhakti is devotional service unto Krishna's lotus feet, rendered with the body and mind. That is one aspect. It is anukulyena Krishnanushilanam, and it can be pure also. How can it be pure? When it is anya vilashita shunyam and when it is jnana karma jnanamrita. But even then, it's still only one aspect. There's another aspect. The other aspect is sadhya bhava. You have to aim at progressing towards bhava bhakti. If you basically you get what you ask for. You don't ask for it, you don't get it. That's all. So now this Ramdas Vishwas, he was engaged in 2 very salient, important activities of bhakti, but that does not make you into a bhakti yogi. Karmis, Gyanis, Yogis, Bhaktas, everybody have to engage in Navavida Vishnu Bhakti. That does not mean that all of them are bhakti yogis. The one who wants to go to the heavenly planets and dance with Urvashi, he is also engaging in Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevam. That doesn't mean he is now bhakti yogi. So that's what he wants. What does he want? What does he want? He wants the result of karma. He wants the result of karma. He's not an anyabhilashi. He is not an adharmic person, because an adharmic person wants material happiness in this life. This person doesn't want material happiness in this life. He is earning money he's earning punya for the next life. He's planning his vacation.
There is a senior Vichari, our ashram. So he told that I'm not doing any simple activity, but I want to go to Swargaloka and enjoy there, and then again progress.
Swanishtha in place. But as long as I desire only that which can be obtained by karma, and I am a karmi actually, even though I'm engaged in Vishnu Bhakti. Engagement in Vishnu Bhakti is everywhere. If you look at the scriptural description of karma Karma means material dharma, Varna dharma, Ashrama dharma, Śrī dharma. In Bhagavatam, you'll find 7th canto, a description of Varna Ashrama dharma. And there you'll find common duties and specific duties. And under common duties, you'll find the 9 items of devotional service. So devotional, simply by doing devotional service itself doesn't mean that you're now a devotee or a bhakti yogi. Technically, you're not a bhakti yogi yet. In order to be classified as a bhakti yogi, you need to desire the result of bhakti alone. Only that. So now Ramdas Vishwas, he engaged in the items of bhakti, but he was desiring something else. He was desiring the result of yoga, Ishwar Sayajya. And on top of it, his engagement also was contaminated by a wrong attitude. Even when we engage in various activities of karma or jnana or yoga or bhakti, there are certain attitudes which are taken into consideration by the authorities who give us the results for what we have done. So he had pride of learning. Pride of learning in all the. Actually, it's a problem everywhere. It's a problem in karma, in jnana, in yoga, and bhakti. Everywhere it's a problem. These are all standard problems: lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, delusion. These are problems everywhere. Even if you want to go to Swarga, you cannot have these things. In Mahabharata, there is that instance of, I think, Yayati. He had a conversation with Indra. And I think it is Yayati, and maybe a great king, a very pious king. And Indra asked him, who's the best person out here in Swarga? And he said, it's me. I'm just objectively speaking the truth. It just happens to be me. So Indra said, forget it, all your results of punya is taken out because you become proud. So then he fell down to earth again. So even in karma, it is not allowed, this pride and so on. These are considered actually very base, not the basest. The basest are this, actually the urges of the body are the lowest, gross problems. After these, when we are blessed by Krishna, when these urges disappear, it is already understood that we have received some mercy of the Supreme Lord. Then the urges of the mind, Jikva Vegam, Mano Vegam, Krodha Vegam, these need to disappear. And then after that, then we are considered to be even more purified to progress further. So in Krishna consciousness, when we take shelter of the holy names properly, that's a system, properly, then these are supposed to go. But for that, you'll have to want it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches us that. He teaches us that please make me qualified. In fact, he teaches in the second verse itself, he teaches that we should repent for having all these anarthas because of which we do not chant the holy names purely. That Shikshashtakam is very, very important. That from that we begin to understand the right set of attitudes with which we execute devotional service. So everything has to be in place for it to be considered devotional service. When we execute devotional service, we come in contact with Lord Krishna directly. When we come in contact with Lord Krishna directly, we are directly enlightened by him. So there is no misconception like I want to merge into the Lord's body or I want to merge into his effulgence. Nor do we have these ideas that, because I have superior birth, Janma, Aishwarya, Shruta, Shri, these are all causes for pride. When we have superior birth, when we have superior opulence, wealth, then Janma, Aishwarya, Shruta, when you are very much learned, or when you are very beautiful or handsome, then these are all causes for great pride. But in Krishna's presence, we will not have these anarthas. These anarthas are like clouds which will disappear when the sun rises. But for that, we need to hanker for it, which is one of the requirements in Bhakti Yoga actually. 4 aspects I will trace. Shraddha, Pragya, Spriha, Kriya. I need to have the right faith, not have the wrong type of faith. have the right understanding, give up misunderstanding, have the right desires, give up wrong desires, engage in the right set of activities and give up the wrong set of activities. Then we are engaged in Bhakti Yoga correctly, and then there's no possibility of these problems.
Can I ask one more question, Prabhu?
Yes.
You said that the Nirapekshita will be having the faith that Krishna will take care of everything. But when a person who is in the stage of Nirapekshita, he has to be surrounded by the other people who may not be having the same level of faith. So in front of them, he will be treated as a fool. So how he is supposed to act?
See, Nirapekshas don't exist in family life. They're Nirashramas. They're renunciates. Not necessarily, it's not that they have to be male. Even in fact, in Shri Govinda Vashya, Shri Baladev Vidyabhushan gives Gargi, a lady, as an example of Nirapeksha. Shabari, she was another. Many. Krishna consciousness make no discrimination between men and women. Vairagya, Vidya and Bhakti are there for everyone. But the Parinishthita, see, there are three. There are Swanishthas, Parinishthas, Nirapeksha, not Nirapekshita, Nirapeksha. The second type, the Parinishthas, internally they are Nirapekshas. But externally, because they want to also help society gradually take to Hari Bhakti. Externally, they give some energy, not full energy or maximum energy, but some minimal energy every day to follow their particular swadharma and to follow the common material duties. They are showing by example. See, I need to do this. So if it's a woman, that woman will follow Sri Dharma, standard rules of Sri Dharma. Similarly, if that person is a man, Purusha Dharma, which means Varna Dharma or Ashrama Dharma, he'll follow that. It's just role playing. Prabhupada said it's like in a drama, when you have to play the part of a king, then you talk like a king. When you have to act like a servant of the king, then you talk like a servant of the king. It's role playing. So the Parinishtitas, internally they are Nirapekshas. Externally, they have to do this role playing for the welfare of the world. So therefore, they do these things. Parinishtitas are also very dear to the Lord. That is why within one lifetime they are going back to God.
Sannyasa is not accepted by a woman. It is not recommended. So she has to play a Sri role.
Krishna will take care. Krishna will provide facilities. See, even with the men, previously, the infrastructure of family life is not today's ridiculous nuclear family. It is 3 generations living together. That is called Kutumba. And there are so many people. And even the men, after a certain age, are expected to practically, even in today's India, in rural areas and all, I'm not even talking of villages, even in ordinary towns, it is expected that older people, in the Hindu communities, I know that, they're in India, and I've seen it in South India, that they are expected to be more detached, renounced. They are respected if they become good, follow the scriptures, adopt a sattvic life, and they are given that space. They're given that space. And we also notice in places like in Bengal, let us say a woman becomes a widow. She's also expected to be like that, and she's also given that facility. They're expected, that look, you're like a sannyasi, we'll simply take care. We'll do our part. You do your Hari Bhajan, you do your chanting, reading, and all that. So these things are there. First of all, even in the Parinishthita framework, which is the framework of family life, it was like that. It was like that. So Krishna has already thought about all these things. It's already worked out an arrangement for this. No need to be too disturbed, Krishna will take care. Nirapekshas are directly taken care of by Lord Krishna. Everything has to be done in a manner that is acceptable for the greater good of the entire community. Nirapekshas don't transgress material dharma, they only transcend material dharma. There's a big difference between these two. Everything is done very carefully.
The last question, if you permit.
Only one.
Yes, the last one. You said that definitely a Vaishnava's son cannot be a Vaishnava. But maybe by some inspiration, by being a mother, by seeing a mother or father, a son or husband or anybody who is in the same family might also take the initiation. But definitely, they are not so showing that much interest to get progress in Krishna conscious. So the other person in the same family who got into Krishna conscious first, how should that person treat the other family members who are showing very, very less interest? But yes, of course, they are in the process.
We should try our best to help others. We should try our best to help others. When we progress in Krishna consciousness, then it will be possible to help others to progress in Krishna consciousness. To whatever extent a person is interested in Krishna consciousness, to that extent we should help. And the remaining time, it will be good if we always set a good example. Sterling example. Good example. Beyond that, what can we do? Even Krishna's, Narakasura is Krishna's own son. He's the son of Varaha and Bhumi. He became an Asura. Advaita Acharya's 3 sons, they became Mayavadis, subscribing to Shankara's ideology. People can turn in all directions. We should do our duty. That's all. Okay, here's a question from Siddhaswara Prabhu. Oops, why can't I see this correctly? Just a minute. Under Pranam, it is likely that one becomes proud while learning Sanskrit and scriptures. How to maintain a humble attitude? That's why you need to have teachers who are constantly beating your body, beating your head. In Tamil Nadu, where there are a lot of patashalas, and in these patashalas they always teach for free. They select their students and they teach for free. These are, I'm talking of the small traditional ones. And they select their students, and despite that, when they notice that you're becoming unnecessarily proud and all that, immediately they shout, "What? Now you became a big soul. Great, became some great man. Just learned something. 10 years you've been studying something, understood something. So now you're much greater than everyone else." Immediately, publicly, front of everyone. So it's all, it's a part of the training, because Vidya, Vinaya Sampanna. Vidya and Vinaya go together. That is the training. So if you only give Vidya and you don't give Vinaya, then what is the point? What is the point? Again. What can all of us do so that we don't become proud? We should be normal practicing members of ISKCON. We should do normal services like everyone else, and certainly not think that we are some great soul. It's a joke, first of all. How while having some theoretical knowledge, we imagine that we are great. I will, if I'm put in the association of people who have these kind of ridiculous misconceptions, I will immediately think that I should be in some other place. Ridiculous. How can a person who is born in a good family think that he is more advanced in Krishna consciousness just because he's born in a good family? Janma. How can a person who think that he is more advanced in Krishna consciousness because he is richer than someone else? Aishwarya. Similarly, how can a person think that he is more advanced in Krishna consciousness just because he knows more? Shruta. And how can a person think that he is more advanced in Krishna consciousness because he is more handsome than others? It's just material upadhis. Okay, out of all of this, learning is most favorable because Vairagya, Vidya and Bhakti, they go together. But along with the standard Vidya, in Vedic Dharma itself, what to speak of in Bhakti? Bhakti is the highest platform. Even in Karma, the platform of Karma, there pride is not, it's simply just wrong. It is a wrong combination. That means something is wrong with that scriptural mode of, there's something wrong with that type of education. Because Vidya and Vinaya go together. They are meant to be given together. If they are not given together, that means it's wrong. That method of teaching is wrong, that's all. You're just hurting society. You simply read to some chaos. Here in our Gurukul, Bhakti Vidyapurna Maharaj used to make these points abundantly clear. Or just because you know some language, you're. I mean, it's ridiculous. No, how just because you know some language and you know some shlokas and you know something, therefore Krishna has revealed himself to you. What is the logic? Atashri Krishna Namadi na bhaved grahyam indriyai sevon mukhehi jihvado swayameva spuratyada. When we have proper service attitude towards Krishna, then Krishna reveals himself. This does not give us an excuse to foster the anarthas of misconceptions. Tattva Vibhrama is one of the misconceptions. So if our scriptural learning is used to mitigate, to get rid of this anartha known as Tattva Vibhrama, philosophical misconceptions, then okay, then that portion is useful, but not otherwise. Otherwise, it is not it is of no value. In fact, Nadhanam, Najanam, Nasundarim, Kavitam Va. There, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has commented, Kavitam means Panditya, scholarship. Means Panditya, scholarship. So to desire to become a scholar, that has already been forbidden by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So first of all, it is not Gaudiya Vaishnava. To aspire to become a scholar itself has been, there's no place for these kind of things. Okay. Already 12 o'clock. Let's close up with this. Anshakal Patru Vyashit, Pasan Vijayavacha, Patitana Pavanabhyo, Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha.